Hey folks, it's Matt once again, and bring you a couple reviews. They're not really... Kevin Smith did produce these, he didn't direct them though. But even though he didn't direct them, I figured I'd talk about them at least a little bit, so maybe these will be shorter reviews. Pretty much because of the success of Clerks, Kevin Smith sort of got a deal with Miramax to get some extra money to finance some of these movies on a micro budget for his friends to direct. One was Brian Johnson, who directed a film called Vulgar. One was Vincent Pereira, he got to make a film. And one was Malcolm Ingram, who Malcolm Ingram and his buddy Matt Gissing produced, edited, wrote, and directed Drawing Flies. Malcolm Ingram was a guy who wrote for the magazine Film Threat, had interviewed Kevin Smith and talked with him, chatted with him, became friends with him on the set of Mallrats. And so Malcolm Ingram, with his buddy Matt Gissing, said, hey, let's make a film. This was made right after Mallrats. They got a lot of the cast from Mallrats. Jason Lee, this is the film he did right after Mallrats. He also had Jason Mewes, Renee Humphrey, who was Trish in Mallrats, Carmen Lee, who had like a tiny part in Mallrats. Jason Lee, Jason Mewes, Renee Humphrey, Carmen Lee, and then a new guy, Martin Brooks. And this film is definitely an independent film, very, very cheap. DVD isn't in the best condition, so I know there's a Blu-ray with a couple extra features. I do want to grab that sometime. I would like to have that sometime. I like this film. I think this film's pretty decent. It's a film no one really talks about. At times it's considered the Lost View Askew movie, because it was produced by Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier. But they had no hand in the writing and directing it. It's a black and white movie where Jason Lee and his friends, they're in Canada, and they're slackers who they live on the government welfare checks. And one day they go in and they're cut off from the easy money. So they have to figure out what the hell to do next. And you can tell that Jason Lee, he's a bit out of it. He's a bit unsatisfied with his current state in life. And long story short, he is watching the $6 Million Man, the Bigfoot episode one day, and he sort of cracks, and he looks over and he sees the smoke and this figure that looks like Bigfoot. And he has sort of a weird vision. In other words, he cracks. And he's like, I want to find this monster. But he doesn't tell his friends that. He just tells his friends, well, we have no job, we have no money. Let's go on a camping trip. And, oh yeah, my relative has a cabin out in the woods. So they go off in the woods, and I remember the first time, I think, I'm not sure where, I might have found this one, like an FYE or something like that. I'm like, what is this? I've never heard of this before. And granted, the film is cheap. It's got awkward editing. It has really bad sound quality compared to, actual official movies. It is very dirt cheap, independent film, but that gives a little bit of charm to, a little bit to me. It was probably made for the same budget that Clerks was. But I like that Malcolm Ingram and Matt Gissing, they try to do a little bit of off-kilter type of flick. And I remember for some reason thinking this was going to be like a slasher movie. Like, oh, Jason Lee's going to start killing his friends one by one. Not the case at all. It's pretty much, I guess in a way it's Clerks, but in the woods. With this weird sort of, this lead character who's a little bit off his rocker. But not violent in the fact he's killing people or anything of that nature. Sort of the type that, by the end of, feel a bit sorry for. Jason Lee, I thought, did a really good job. He has a great speech at the end when this woman, Carmen, leaves. Once they find out what's going on and calls him on his bullshit, Jason Lee's like, "You're like a fucking vampire. You sap the energy out of everybody. You're fucked. Fuck you." And apparently Kevin Smith saw this performance, and that led to him casting Jason Lee into the next film Kevin Smith directed, which was Chasing Amy, saying, "Hey, this guy can do drama. Like, okay, he does comedy and Mallrats, but he can do drama because of this, so let me cast him in Chasing Amy." And Jason Lee, I think, does a good job here. Jason Mewes, I like. Nice to see him in there. He has a good supporting role as a character named Az. Really likes his van. Was like, "Fuck you, I like the van. We could play tapes." Or he has a nice bit of business between him and Martin Brooks, who's like a jock type of character who came over to see Jason Lee and hang out and see what's going on. And they have that guy, Martin Brooks, and Jason Mewes has a good back and forth where they poke each other's buttons and they fuck with each other. But later on, they sort of become friends with each other. So they have a nice little back and forth. Like Martin Brooks pushes Jason Mewes into the lake. It's, "Oh, you fuck!" Or there are times where Jason Mewes and another girl getting drunk and keeps poking at Martin Brooks, calling him, "Pussy! Come on, pussy!" And there's definitely some off-kilter moments. Like they're in the woods and they find all these guys, like this is Scott Mosier, with all these guys with a diaper, crying like a baby. And you're like, what the hell's going on? But the bit I did think was funny is that a guy's doing that, and then he gets up, and everyone's like, "Hey, yeah, this is a good job. You know, this a bit of cleansing. Yeah, you know, good job." Like patting each other on the back. Like they're just like these were guys who worked at the office, and it's just them. Um, I don't know, doing whatever the hell they're doing, but just have moments of they're acting normal and. I don't know how much I want to give because this is actually a pretty short film. I know it says on YouTube it's like Drawing Flies Part 1, but it's not really Part 1 because whoever uploaded it started it off like 15 minutes, 20 minutes into the film. And the film is only like an hour and 15 minutes. I mean, it's not that long of a film. Maybe an hour and 20 minutes. But yeah, I mean, sound quality's not that great because of the equipment they had to use. It's in black and white, so if you don't like black and white movies, you're not gonna like it. It's not like a lot of physical action going on, but it's nice to see these guys in the woods. Kind of weird, kind of like before Blair Witch. It's not a horror film like Blair Witch, but I don't know, just a small independent film in the woods. I thought the director pulled off a couple nice shots, like the reveal of Jason Lee, and I like the song playing that scene as well, where the camera turns, it's on Jason Lee's face, and then there's sort of the camera pans while Jason Lee's looking, and just the way they did the smoke, and you barely see the guy in the Bigfoot costume, and you're just showing that he's cracked. There's a scene where they're on a suspension bridge, so it's like, yeah, some nice shots that they were able to get. Or like a shot of Jason Lee that looks like he's inside a tree. They're just looking at stuff, looking at a map. So I thought the director pulled off a couple of interesting shots, and some of the dialogue is fun. And I like Jason Lee, I like Jason Mewes, so it's nice to see him. I think it's a harmless movie. Again, the film is not that long at all. Maybe some people would be bored because, oh, it's no one fighting, or it's not really. I think you look at it, a good monster, terrible thing in ways, it seemed like maybe there'd be like a horror aspect, but it's not at all. And at one point, Jason Mewes' character gets hurt. It's like, hey, we gotta get out of here, get him to the hospital. And Jason Lee is obsessed with this thing, and you feel a bit sorry for the character, or I'll speak for myself. And by the end, I like the scene where Jason Lee is pretty much just lost it. Again, violent only in the fact that we'll get the fuck out of here. It takes a stick, like, it just breaks it in half against a tree. And like he gets in this pit and he's putting all this mud over him. And I like the Martin Brooks guy. He's coming in and just trying to tell him, well, we gotta leave here. We can't stay. And just Lee's going, "No, I understand. You gotta go and you gotta do what you gotta do." I thought the Martin Brooks guy had a nice little bit. He's not crying, but he's about ready to. Just his friends just out there, and he even tells the girl Renee Humphrey, we gotta go. We'll come back, or get someone to come back here. And of course, it cuts, and you get a little bit of the characters talking. Like Carmen Lee, she's a bit of a rough, potty mouth woman, but you get the idea that maybe she had a little bit of a thing for Jason Lee's character. And even at a moment of party, which I like the piece of music that plays. I don't know what the song is called, but the piece of music is going through a party, like a lake level of all these guys. Get out of the way. It unveils Carmen Lee underneath a table just crying. And then it cuts to a weird last scene with Jason Lee, which I think some people could take literally, but I guess you're supposed to think that maybe he's about ready to die or dying, because it's like him with a clean shirt around a bunch of Bigfoot people. So maybe you take it literally, oh, he was right, he did find what he was looking for, or you could take it as, yeah, maybe this is like the last moments, or he's dead and this is where he's at now, or you do take it however you want. But it's an off-kilter, weird little movie that not a lot of people talk about, not a lot of people mention. The DVD has a commentary track with the director, has two commentary tracks, one with the directors, and then one with the directors. Jason Lee is on the commentary, Jason Mewes, Renee Humphrey, Carmen Lee, and Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier all in the same room. The audio is a little bit low, but see, I don't know if that's fixed on the Blu-ray. Maybe it is. Special introduction by Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier. It's a little bit of bloopers, deleted scenes, outtakes. I just thought it was a good little film. Short enough that I didn't get bored. I like Jason Lee and Jason Mewes, so nice to see him in a film like this. Ideas quirky. I think that's a good way to put it. It's a quirky little film. Got a couple chuckles out of me. Kevin Smith does have a cameo, as do Ethan Suplee, who's in Mallrats, among other stuff. Joey Lauren Adams, who would be in Chase Amy, she has a little cameo. Yeah, I thought I liked the film. Interesting, quirky idea. The same vibe of Clerks. I mean, it's nowhere near as good as Clerks because Matt Gissing and Malcolm Ingram, they're just not as good of writers as Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith is definitely the better writer. So, I mean, Clerks is a better written movie. And weirdly enough, I would say even the sound quality is better on Clerks, even though it's a low budget. Maybe because they only had a convenience store, while here they had to deal with the outside and the woods and all that stuff. But other than the technical being not the best, editing, it's not the best as well. It's almost as if scenes, they could use another run through with the editing. But I like the idea. Short enough movie that it's not a hassle. Jason Lee, I think, does a really good job. Also really like Jason Mewes in it. The rest of the cast do fine. And it's a quirky little film that no one really talks about, but I enjoy it. I think it's entertaining. Got a couple chuckles out of me and some good, nice little dramatic moments, especially at the end with Jason Lee. So, I like it. I don't talk too much because I don't want to give the whole film away in case people do want to check it out. because it's a film of all these. It's probably the one of the ones that people are like, "What the hell's that?" But I like drawing flies, and I guess even Harry Knowles didn't mind it as well. So go figure. By the way, thanks for watching. Take care, and stay tuned for more reviews later.